Okay, it's 4:02 and today is Monday, October 25th. And the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority Finance Committee meeting will be called to order. So business items 1-1, September financials. I'll turn that over to.
Thank you. If we look at our statement of financial position, if we go down to our accounts receivable that are general, we're up to 94.9% of the open AR is either current or 1 to 30 days. So we're making strides to get those payments in even quicker. The salt receivable, most of that was received today and is going into one of our restricted accounts until it clears, and then we're going to spend it all.
Well, that's how it goes.
Yes, but we have it to spend, so we're doing well. Our construction in progress, that continues to build as we continue to pay for the Tiger grant painting and rehab of the bridge, which should be ending in November of this month or this year. So that should all go to fixed assets quite soon. And if we look at our accounts payable and we look on the footnote number 3, the top 6 vendors are listed there for you. Of that 814,000, 435,000 has been paid since the end of September. We're paying another 65 on these vendors with the money from the salt ship that just came in.
So are we mostly under 90 days for most vendors?
95% of our vendors currently are, the furthest out they are is 31 to 60.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, we have very little that's sitting out in the over 90.
Okay.
Any questions on the statement of financial position?
The aviation group, 25. Have we received any preliminary report yet from them?
From Ascent?
Yeah.
Ascent sells us fuel and
That's not who I thought it was. Keep going.
they sell us fuel and the self-serve software.
Then why do we owe them 25.5?
We just got $24,000 worth of fuel, which will be paid shortly,
Okay.
but hasn't been paid. Any other questions?
Just a question, but I guess it doesn't matter here, so I was going to ask about the malls, how that was coming, just because it's on here. So
The Malls F is almost done.
Yeah, there's just one issue that they've run into, and I didn't attend Thursday progress meeting. I had another meeting. There was, when you pull the cable, all the wiring through, you've got to test it to make sure it all goes by amperage and everything, so you measure it, it's called. Well, they had a problem in a section of from junction box to junction box, and they were going to pull it. Well, the thing is, they need to find a long replacement wire. So I think it's enough to function, but the FAA and we're not going to accept something that we know is not meeting spec, but it may be enough to carry through with all the testing and get it in place. And then you'd have an outage maybe in the spring and replace that wire. We've already
the
made
payable will sit there for a while then. We will,
What's that?
We will finish paying that, or we'll sit on that?
We'll sit on whatever we feel is that, but if that hadn't happened, the only thing we'd be waiting on is they have to do a flyover. I can't think, there's a term for it. But they have to do a test and we had to do it for the runway in 2016, but they have to schedule that, and they can only, they have to stop before Thanksgiving because of all the traffic there, and it may be tough to get it. It might be substantially complete, but to get it in service will depend on the flight service coming over and checking.
But it'll be functioning.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, we can move on to the budget to actual. And we are continuing to see some good results in bridge revenue. It is still mostly truck traffic. Our actual so far for just tolls is $548,000. The commercial and all other budget was 503. So we have surpassed the commercial all other traffic, and we can break that down. I know a small percentage of that does belong to auto. Airport revenue is up. Everything except the railroad revenue, and we're still waiting on Kathy's return to get that invoice back out to the railroad so that we can charge for the rail cars. And of course, the turbine project never came through. Our salary expenses for the bridge are up a small bit. Our seasonal workers started earlier than we had budgeted, but they do not get benefits. So the benefit line, even though we have more salary, the benefit line won't reflect it as they don't get benefits. Bridge maintenance expense, we've been able to keep under budget because of the Tiger grant project. Our legal expenses are currently under budget. They are 42% of budget, and at this point, we would normally be at 50% of budget. The airport salary is 69% of budget. We did budget originally to be down one man at the airport, which we didn't end up doing. We were going to do it and take care of that person's salary through overtime, but we didn't. We kept that man on, and the employee benefits, of course, will go up as the salary goes up. Our maintenance expenses are over budget. The automotive or vehicle expenses have taken up the majority of that increase. Fuel sale expense, of course, is up because the fuel sale revenue is up. Our general expenses, Leo is at 84% of budget. That budget number was created prior to the new base contract that we received from the city in January. Of course, this budget was created in December, so we didn't know that the base contract amount of 185 would be the number.
I think we used 168. And do you remember when we had our meeting? All I can remember is about a 20K difference from what I expected and what we got.
It was 160.
And so that would be the reason, but just one big point that Patty's making is we've used 80% of the budget and we're only halfway through time-wise. And that's where that 20 just started piling up, so.
Plus we have the additional hours.
Right.
Which we did
We're
not
waiting on an answer.
anticipate. I'll get to that in my notes for the day, but yes, we didn't anticipate the additional hours.
So could part of the salary expense in the airport have to do with the increased activity for GA?
Yes, and overtime. There's a lot of things in there that, you know, there's that 2.5, 3 hours when a flight is delayed. Oh, also we were down a person.
For about 3 weeks, so there was a lot of overtime too.
Right, when we one individual left. There was also really a number
Another
of
3
time up
weeks.
for training. So like they went away for a week and we had to cover that spot while they trained. Even though we had the right amount of persons, that new person had to be trained. So while they were gone for a week, we had to cover those hours with overtime. But when you say GA, yes, some of that is handling extra GA and fueling requirements.
But if the EAS is late for whatever reason, do we have staff there?
They have to stay on when they know it's late.
Who of our staff is there? I mean, what position?
It would be the
Maintenance.
maintenance person, like say they're expecting at 7
In the terminal?
and they're there and they might get notified that the flight's not coming until 10:30 or 11 or whatever, and they have to stay.
Because they'll refuel the plane if it's turning around.
Right, we do the refueling, we charge for that.
Mhm.
How often does that occur?
It's occurred more lately.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know, Stephanie would know, but I'd be willing to bet on average is at least once or, I would say, well, at least once a week. One flight or I'm just saying, so 1 week it might have been twice, and then there wasn't anything for 10 days. But I would say, like Patty says, I hear about it more than I don't hear anything. You know, and only sometimes only maybe an hour and a half, but I have heard of, you know, planes. And then I think there was a time in early September with weather, especially Washington, getting out of there.
Getting out of
the
Washington.
reason for it.
You chair the facilities committee. I would like to send a note to our EAS provider that they need to understand that this is costing us additional amount. And we had requested, I personally had requested additional amount for them for advertising. And we might need to reconsider that from them because we're paying out more now, our cost, because of their delayed, even though the delay may not be, they have any say in it or any somehow, if they would have a friendly gesture to us, that they would provide us with additional funding for advertising, might help our additional costs we're seeing and them being delayed.
Did you get that, Anne Marie? I don't have to do it. Okay. So, well,
You know what
I
I'm
know
saying?
what you're saying, because I was thinking the same thing. Is there, I don't know if it's even customary, right, to charge a fee or whatever for a late fee, if you want to call it. I don't know what they would do, so. Sure.
It's just, we're unique in that EAS is a one-off thing. If I'm just saying, if we're a normal airport, planes are late all the time.
Right,
And that's all built into it because the quantity takes care of that. But in our case, it's a single one-off. Otherwise we go home. So, you know, it's a valid point, but it's,
But some help could show up in advertising dollars, which is beneficial to them anyway.
right. So before I tip completely over. How far into that contract are we?
We're not even
Not
done
a
with
year
year
yet.
one.
We're not done with year one?
No, that's April next
April.
year.
Was it April?
And we have 2 or 3 years.
3.
3.
3 years.
Okay.
The industrial park is all under budget. Most of the maintenance and general expenses for the industrial park, we simply pick up ourselves. unless there's something very specific to the industrial park. We do have salary and employee benefits. A part of the CFO's salary does go toward the industrial park for writing leases, et cetera. The marine terminal, the ILA is at 58%. They're ahead of where they should be. That has a lot to do with the salt moving that we've had to do down at the port. The maintenance expenses.
Can I just, on that cost, some of that has been picked up by Compass, so it comes back as revenue on that. So, I mean, would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
Yeah. It's just that it doesn't come back as reimbursement for labor.
Right.
It comes back as revenue, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Our maintenance expenses are up. Our automotive is at almost 90%. I was a bit surprised when I looked at that.
Well, in automotive, the fuel use is part of that.
Okay.
So when we have trucks and those loaders moving all that salt, that we just always put fuel cost here or anywhere, we call it automotive. So that would be a reason why that's driven up.
And of course, equipment rental is in that maintenance line, and with all the moving of the salt,
And we get some revenue from that.
we do get some of
We're
that
sharing
back.
that with Compass.
So overall, we're still in a good position. That position will likely change relatively soon because our last salt ship has come in and we were just, as I said, paid for it.
So you said the offsetting revenue for the railroad just hasn't been billed yet. But
We have a rough number of that.
Which,
I have a rough number for that, but it might be,
okay,
if you want to know.
well, the max is what, 25?
It's going to be closer to 30
Oh,
because of the salt
yes,
that we
the
haul.
additional.
And then grain has been very good this year. This has been our best grain year in 15 years, both for storage and quantity and throughput.
Okay, good.
any other questions? I have just some notes. We received the $50,000 from duty free. We made them an offer. We wanted 75. They came back at 50 and we said, if you want 50, you pay us now. You have 30 days. Or you can have 75 and you pay us through next April. They took the 50 and paid us 3 days later.
Good.
So we have that. We do have to begin negotiations. Their contract is up next May. So we do have to start. I don't know whether we want to consider an RFP to see what else might be out there. We know that their request will be to bring down,
Guaranteed.
yes,
When you look at the duty-free folder or the history, there's always a history of a letter, whether it was to Danny Dupree or to previous executive director, or there's always a letter every so many years complaining about they're not making enough money. And we did respond in 2017 saying the airport increased bridge traffic by 50,000. And what I'm getting at is Patty and I have talked about it. We don't know if that's just their mode of doing business is that let's just ask anyway, but it's kind of tiring. And it's like, okay, you signed up for it. Give us what you really want. And I don't know. I don't have a lot of patience this time around, but we'll see. So hopefully we can get others interested and just see what's out there.
we have sent a letter and an email to the city comptroller requesting information on how the billing is done for the Leo. From her email dated the 14th of October, she hoped to have the information compiled by next week, which would be this week. I did not get anything back from her for today's meeting. As I said, the Algoma Sioux ship payment arrived today. This will be the last ship for the year that we're aware of. And thanks to the salt that we have received, most of the old invoices or older one-time invoices are now gone. And most of our invoices are maximum 31 to 60 days. The OBPA has begun using the CRSSA grant, which is actually the CRRSAA grant, or the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act. We've gotten off to quite a rocky start. The OBPA's first submission was approved and paid. And then the FAA explained that a couple of items for which the OBPA had been reimbursed were not allowed. Repairs and the 2.5% of the OBPA portion of grants that were reimbursable under the CARES Act are no longer reimbursable under the CRSSA and the upcoming ARPA grant, which means, and the FAA actually stated, if it comes from Lowe's, if it comes from Gillies, it's not allowed. But that is going to mean that any Collins Hammond, Cooper Electric, all of these invoices that are in any way, shape, or form repairs are not going to be eligible. I even tried to fight her on an invoice because it had to do with the security gate, and security is an eligible expense. But the answer we received was repair is repair. So we have had $2,300 rejected after approval. And we had another $2,900 of today's check run that will not be reimbursable. So at this point, we're looking at approximately $5,300 that's either been rejected or can't be submitted. We're going to resurrect the submission that we decided not to send in for the CARES Act for debt, because we said, well, if we use it on debt, then we'll bring down the CARES Act. We are looking to submit that through our rep and see if the FAA will approve the debt, either the line of, not the line of credit, either the mortgage or the bond, if we can find some of that, and that is accepted, then we will start to use that, because that is indeed operational expense. But that's where we are with this new grant. We're going to be very much limited in what we can get reimbursed.
But it does drive out the final payment that we receive. I mean, it spreads it out, but at this point, we'd rather have.
We're not in a position to pick up those additional expenses.
Right.
So we are.
And all those repairs at it, especially at the airport, they're critical. Like there's things around here that, and the reason you see some of the maintenance is driven up either in the industrial park or at the port is that Patty kind of gave me a little bit of because of that, we took care of some deferred maintenance. The thing is, out the airport, you don't have deferred maintenance. And it was nice when CARES Act would come along, you need lighting or anything for the runway or whatever. It took care of it. But now we can't just say, well, we'll do it next year or something like that. So that's kind of the warning, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have, and we unfortunately, without any other surprise income, are not going to be able to cover that for too long, but we're going to have to figure it out, which means we're back to who doesn't get paid. So that's just to let everyone know. The paperwork has been mailed back to Vladis for the sale of the property on the corner. All of their attorney fees, Tompkins' attorney fees, and the transfer fees, et cetera, have been paid. We're now waiting for the sale to clear and collect that money. At the time we get the money, OBPA will owe commissions to the realtor and any legal fees to Vladis for their help. Tompkins requested that the sale price received be split in half. Half will go to Tompkins, which will then get cut in half and pay 2 of our loans down, and half coming to the OBPA for its own use. So we will end up with probably about 1/3 of our half after we pay the commission and the legal fees along with the sale of the property. I would like to hold that money for the moment, as we are currently holding the $50,000 from duty free. I would love to be able to use it for the upcoming Neisler's invoice. We do, however, have expenses to GPI, who did a lot of the engineering work for the bridge. And we do have to consider the fact that they've been very patient in being paid.
That's a very old invoice. They've been getting paid from the project through the Fed and the state money. But
Well, we've been paying them,
Right.
but not to the
we haven't
extent
wiped
of
it
paying
out.
it off.
And that's probably one of our biggest leftovers.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes. Steve and I have begun working on the budget. We're going to continue to keep the budget very conservative, at least on the bridge side. There's no great expectation that the Canadian traffic will come back to pre-COVID levels for at least 12 to 18 months. So we're going to keep at least the bridge side very conservative and see where we go from there. We should have something to the board for their mulling over at the, can we have it for the board meeting?
I don't know. I'm waiting on
First
you.
draft? We hope to have the first draft for you by the board meeting.
We've already got the ports done. There's just, I've got maintenance stuff, but Adam really went to town last week and we reviewed, Patty and I reviewed it, so that part, and there's no fluff, but the ones that we feel strongly about, it will have a good revenue stream for the port.
Any other questions, concerns, anything you want us to take up?
I had questions, but you covered them, so I crossed them off. I was like, okay. Anything else come before us?
No.
Anything else, Sam?
No.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to
I
adjourn.
move we adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye. And we are adjourned.
Oh, right on the